Hi, I'm Panda Hershey with Your Full Expression. Welcome to the April 20th Coffee and Charts call, where we talk about how the next 2 weeks are a great time for all of us to reflect on how much we've accomplished this year, and also a good time to open up to understanding and feeling the people around us. As always, we look at the daily movement of the planets, and I point out a few key days to pay attention to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Good morning, everyone. Ara and I were just talking a moment ago about how it's still busy, and yet the pressure and the spread out feeling of it, of having to go in like a million directions, is still kind of there, but not as bad as it was maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's like some things are slowing down and something actually is slowing down. But I think it's giving us all a moment to, and giving us more than a moment to pause and reflect. And so today is going to be a little bit of a shorter session because I want to just give us some time to think about a few different things and not throw everything at you, if that makes sense. So let's get started by just watching the transits of the planets. First of all, does anyone have any questions? Am I the only one besides with Ara who feels that it's just not quite as bad? It's just a little bit of that edge is gone. Yeah. Min, you're smiling. That's good.
Like, not as bad as last week. Last week was dreadful. There's been aspects of the last week or so that have just been crazy stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the survival tips, but yeah, hopefully you are feeling
Made
like
it.
some of that edge is coming off and we'll figure it all out, but it's going to have to be together. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So let's just start off with watching the movement of the planets for the next 2 weeks. So today is the 20th, and Mercury, when in the email that I sent out, I said Mercury had gone into the Uranus portal and it leaves today. So it's a quick transit, and there may or be maybe something that you take away from these last 3 days of thinking about how you are in your body and using your body. And if you look through where the Uranus portal is in your chart, what part of your life is that? How do you show up in that part of your life? And this is just something to note if anything stood out. On the 25th, in 5 days from now, Venus enters the Neptune portal at 22.5 Pisces, and the Mercury portal opens at 26 degrees Taurus. So people are somehow talking about having 4 retrograde portals this year. I think from the experience we've all shared together in going through the last Mercury retrograde, hopefully it gave you some opportunities to really think about what you were doing. And now you kind of know that for a couple weeks after the portal opens, you're kind of thinking about paying attention to what you're doing. And then during the retrograde, we'll have some discussion about what's going on. And then when it goes forward, it's your chance to take that mulligan and have another shot at conversations and thinking again about how you are showing up. But we will talk about that more later. Venus crosses Neptune at 24.5 degrees on the 27th. And then it leaves the portal the next day. And on that day, it is exactly between Jupiter and Neptune at 26 degrees Pisces. So I'm hopeful for some good news that day in some way, that people in the world are connected. On the 29th, Pluto stations retrograde at 28.5 Capricorn. And remember, it started the year at 26 degrees. So it's really barely moved at all this whole time, right? On the 30th, Venus crosses Jupiter at 28 degrees, and we get our partial solar eclipse at 10.5 degrees Taurus. So you can look at your list of planets on the second page of your retrograde portal guide or your nightstand journal and see if you have anything around 10 or 11 degrees and whether you might feel something there. On May 1st, Venus enters the Jupiter portal at 29 degrees Pisces. And then we meet again on May 4th, the day that the Jupiter portal actually opens and the sun crosses over Uranus at 15 degrees Taurus. So a lot of Venus energy in there of note. There's certainly a lot more going on, but that's just something that I was noticing as I was going through this is, wow, Venus kind of shows up a lot because it's passing through the portal and passing into the Neptune portal, the Jupiter portal, and the Jupiter portal opens. So I'll talk a little bit about that. All right, let's go back and look at this one more time. And one of the things to note, we talked about this last time, is that the sun here today, yesterday it went into Taurus from Aries. So here it is at almost 1 degree or half a degree. And here is Mercury at 18 degrees. And so they are going to stay about 20 degrees apart for the next couple of weeks. So you'll just kind of see that, but everything else just will move kind of at its normal rate, and we'll feel free to just watch anything that catches your eye. Okay. Okay. All right. I hope that was helpful. All right. So one of the things I mentioned is that Pluto stations retrograde on the 29th. Hang on one second. And it actually stays within 1 minute of in Capricorn at 28 degrees, 35 minutes to 36 minutes. So really tight space for about 2 weeks. So a week before and a week after. I don't think we can tell the difference personally. And so anytime from April 22nd to May 6th is a good time to make notes. Here I've got this outlined in red here. You'll see this on your own journal on page 18. And again, what part of your life have you been trying to take control of in this very little sliver? For me, you can see that red comes down into my 10th house. How am I making my impact on the world? One of the things that I think is helpful is, I'm going to flip forward, is going to that page. So I flipped to page 60 where the 10th house is in my journal. And I look at the questions. What impact am I having on my community and the world? What am I known for? Who or what supports what I need to do in the world? How is my calling changing over time? How am I applying my wisdom and experience? How am I using what I know about myself, my relationships, and the world to make an impact? And that's for me. So you guys will all turn to your own house that's appropriate for your chart and read those questions. And I, think about how since January and even a little before, as Venus was kind of touching some of this and giving you some indications of what you could do. And think about how you've applied all of your tools and made an impact. You know, this has been a journey. These coffee and charts started during all of this, right? So that's part of it. So how have you applied your tools and maybe had less of an impact than you anticipated? And from that, what needs to be refined? Or maybe you need a different approach, or maybe that's not the path to think through because there's going to be a better one. And Capricorn is really about community. It's about, you can't have an impact without other people to receive that impact, right? It's not just for you, it's for all the people around you. And who is showing up to actually receive the wisdom and tools that you have? Talk to them about it. I'm going to go back to some of this because I've got some notes here. Talk to them about how you've been using your wisdom and tools, or how you think you've been doing it. Who has been getting in the way, right? Who has kept you from actually doing all of that? And that's something to think about, because maybe they don't need to be a part of your life anymore. And that's, wow, that's pretty brutal. But sometimes that's reality. And or an activity is not just jiving with what you're supposed to be doing. And this is just a good contemplation thing for the next couple of weeks. But really do think about that, because what will happen is that you'll get time from now until the fall to rethink and do a little different kind of work, and maybe learn a few new things as you just kind of live life. And you get another chance at applying your wisdom starting in October. It's like doing this again, what we just did, in a slightly different way with a little help, because it's a different time of year and a different part of your life, but you'll get to refine and make it even stronger than what you did before, and make it blossom. This is a good, from now until then, we reinforce what we've done and make it really solid. You've done so much. I hope you all can see, because I know all of you, how much you've accomplished this year. How do you make that reinforced and make it solid so it doesn't go away, so that it is in good place, so you can continue to make great progress on using your ample tools and wisdom starting in the fall. I hope that makes sense. Okay, the Neptune portal. So Jupiter passed through this portal from April 6th through the 18th. And Venus will pass through in the next 2 weeks from the 25th to the 28th. And the question here is, you know, what is coming into, who and what is coming into my life that not only relates to what I did and thought about in March, and how is my humanity being affirmed, but also it's about what people are coming into my life. How am I paying attention to people that maybe I hadn't understood before and need to understand? And I think we're seeing a lot of that. Frankly, Venus has been coming through Pisces since the beginning of April. And if you think about Shanghai and the lockdown that they have been going through and are continuing to go through, and not just Shanghai, but a bunch of other cities in China, you know, people have been coming into each other's lives, people who live in the same apartment buildings, who never would talk to each other. And here they are thrown together magically. And they have learned to barter with each other, to help each other to get through. And this is part of what we're here to learn right now, I think. And that's something that you'll want to pay attention to, I think, is who is showing up as someone to understand. Either it's a community or a group, or someone that you've been hanging out with but never really listened to and haven't heard their story. So paying attention to that, I think, will be helpful. And the Jupiter portal opens on the day we meet again, but we get a little bit of a prep for it at the beginning of May, where Venus starts to pass through it. And the jumping off point for your growth this year, everyone's growth this year, to be seen and heard and understood, starts with, who have you been hanging around with? Who have you been feeling in order to be inspired about having something to say? I have added a few questions here that I think are helpful and related to both Venus passing through and then the portal opening. So if you are surrounding yourself with people that get you, then when you have something to say, someone's going to hear it. And that's what we're all going to be looking for, is who's hearing us, who's paying attention to us. And not only that, this is a whole 9-month journey of growth. And in order to kind of position yourself to be in the right place, noting who's paying attention to you will help you get started into the right place. Okay. And finally, the Mercury retrograde portal opens during this period on April 25th, but give yourself a couple days to think about that. The first thing that I always start with is thinking about, what area of my life is this? And I'm actually going to talk more about this Mercury retrograde portal next time, because then we'll be in it. But just to get you going, what I did is going back. Whoops, sorry. You'll see that this portal is in my first house. So I turned to the first house pages and just looking at the questions around the edges, they make me think about, who am I? And Taurus is about showing up, being in my physical body. So here are some of the things that I'm being aware of. Is I show up for people I care about. When I spend time with others and feel them around me, then it helps me understand who I actually want to show up for. And one of the things I'm contemplating is that I often show up to do something, but this Mercury retrograde portal will be just showing up and being steady. And if you're always doing something, and this is just for me personally, I can't actually notice what's going on. And that is what we're going to be asked to do, is really show up and be steady and sit with something till the very end before we actually say something, before we can actually notice deeply what's going on around us, and figuring out the way to do that. So, survival tips. Life may finally feel like it's slowing down a tad. I think that Pluto stationing retrograde helps. So reflect when you can. Get another trusted opinion on how you've used your wisdom and experience so far, right? You've been trying to make an impact on your life and other people's lives. Ask someone, what I've been trying to do this. What do you think I've done? How do you think I've done? What could I do better? Third, and I think really important, be open to opportunities to feel or understand the people around you. People will come in somehow, will come into your life over the next couple weeks, especially. Flow with that. You're invited to go do something or be with some people safely, go for it. And finally, as I noted earlier, Mercury is ahead of the sun by 20 degrees. So for the next couple weeks, so 20 degrees is approximately 20 days. So still give yourself cushion. If you're talking about something and thinking ahead, make sure you give yourself time to actually execute, and rest when you can. And then finally, it's 8:50. I'm going to hold a little Mercury retrograde workshop so that we can all learn to move through the portal by using our natal charts to write contemplation questions. Now, they're going to be in person because I think everyone is like sick of Zoom. And I know some of you are not like close. And if you're interested, I will think about, and you're up for doing more Zoom, I will definitely do a Zoom session if you want to try that. And it's going to be in my backyard, so I want to be safe. It's going to be about an hour. When I send out the video, I'll send more information. But you know, the idea is you'll bring your journal, and if you have a friend who doesn't have one and wants to come, I can get everything prepped. And we'll just walk through how to make your contemplation questions for the whole retrograde or the whole portal, so that you actually, you know, can move with it and understand what's going on. And then as it goes, after the retrograde is done, you actually can mindfully think about what you want to say and do through that second chance. And that's my goal. We'll see how it actually goes.
Exciting.
And finally, that video I think is coming soon. I think I'm rethinking how I'm going to do it, but you'll see it posted soon in case you wanted to hear that story again. All right. So I'm going to. All right. Hi, Juanita. Sarah.
Hi.
Any questions, thoughts?
I'm just wondering how this eclipse season is charging things, these eclipse portals.
Yeah, you know, that's such a good question. As I always say, the impact of the eclipses on you personally always relate to what your chart has. For me, I have my ascendant at 9 degrees Taurus. So there, that solar eclipse comes through at 10 and a half degrees. It's close enough where that's just a day where I'm just going to dive under the covers and maybe just like stay in bed all day, because that is kind of what the ascendant for me is all about. I think, you know, in Taurus and at 10 degrees, I think it's less intense than something at a later degree. So I would say that it will be about initiating things with our bodies. You know, it's also the day that I can't remember what opens that day. Something else was going on that day. Good case. Oh, Venus crosses Jupiter.
That's right.
Maybe
Ooh.
someone will actually do something, right, to like bring people together. So it's like initiation of getting in my body and doing something to like open up the possibilities of people being in connection. It, you know, maybe it's you grabbing your friends and saying, come on, people, we're going to go do a rain dance or do something to help our community, or just come together and enjoy each other and tell each other how much we appreciate each other and that we're here for each other. Like, it can show up in many, many ways. And I actually haven't looked farther enough ahead to the lunar eclipse, but I can do that for the next one. And look at that cute baby.
Loving that little one, yes.
What a handsome guy. Yes, you're getting an early start on this stuff. It's good. So, any other questions? All right. It's so good to see all of you.
So good to see you.
Okay. All right. Well, then, so I had posted the 2 dates for the Mercury retrograde workshop. If there's something if you're interested and those dates don't work for you, definitely let me know, because it's not going to be a huge crowd, and so I can accommodate most anything. All right. Okay, everyone. Take good care, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Bye. Thank you, Panda.
All right. Bye. I hope you feel prepared to move through these next 2 weeks and can find some time to reflect on where you are in your life, and how much you've already accomplished this year. On the call, I mentioned that the Mercury retrograde portal opens in less than a week. And the next time we get together, I'll talk more about this portal and how it connects to other important transits. If you'd like to join these Coffee and Charts calls or participate in the Mercury retrograde workshop, please visit my website at yourfullexpression.com to learn more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.